Namaste everyone, welcome back to Suvi English channel. In today's video, let us explore yet another interesting story titled The Trial for Murder, written by an English writer Charles Dickens. First, let us understand the title of this story, The Trial for Murder. What does the trial mean? The term trial means the legal proceedings in a courtroom to investigate and to examine the evidence of a criminal case. And in this story, we see a trial taking place because a murder is committed. That is why this story is titled as The Trial for Murder. And this story is about an ordinary bank employee who has been appointed as a jury member to help this murder case, to help this trial. Very interestingly, he sees the ghost of that murdered man, the ghost of the dead man in the courtroom during the trial. The bank employee who has been appointed as a jury member experiences a very strange, unusual and ghostly appearances in his life, and he shares all that in this story. He narrates all his experiences to us in this story. So who is the narrator of this story? The bank employee is the narrator of this story. And now let's get into the story. Once a shocking murder was committed in a city called Piccadilly in London, and the narrator also lived in that place called Piccadilly. It was a very shocking, deadly murder that it drew attention of everybody in the city. And the murder case was covered in almost all the newspapers. And one morning, while having breakfast, the narrator, who was the bank employee, the narrator, while having breakfast, was reading this news, murder news, in a newspaper. His eyes fell on that incident, murder incident, and he read about it. And he read it twice, two times. Not that he really needed the detailed information about that murder, but it was just out of his curiosity he read it twice. It was after that incident the narrator, the bank employee, experienced very strange, unusual incidents in his life. One night he saw a very strange, unusual incident. In his room, he saw two chairs moving on their own. There was nobody, but the chairs were moving on their own. It was completely shocking incident that he experienced. And, and very soon he sensed that there were two men walking near the window. One was trying to attack the other, and in his imagination, he saw that attacker killing that innocent man, the other man. And all this happened in his imagination. He felt like it was happening in real life. Some people might think that because he had read about that murder incident, about that murder case, the same event or the same scene might have stayed in his mind, so that might have led to his illusion, right? Sometimes what happens is, when we watch a ghost movie or horror movie, the ghosts appear in our dreams, right? We see ghosts in our dreams. But the narrator did not see the ghosts in his dream. It was not in his dream. He was not asleep, and he did not see all this in his dream. It was in his imagination. He sensed that, he felt like watching some people, watching some two men. One was attacking, the other was trying to escape. That was what he felt, that was what he imagined. So he did not see all this in his dreams, he did not have that in his dreams. Instead, it was like as if a murder video was playing in his mind. The narrator was shocked and frightened after experiencing this incident in his life. And later he became sick for this incident. Because of this incident, he became very sick for few days. And later, after few days, he became normal and everything was okay, and he was busy with his banking works. But one day, as he was talking to his assistant called John Derrick, he received a letter from Central Criminal Court. Central Criminal Court was situated in a city called Old Bailey. So from there he received a letter. The letter said that he was appointed as a jury member to investigate a very interesting murder case. Initially the narrator, who was the bank employee, so initially he refused to join the jury team. Though there were 12 jury members, he was one among them. So initially he refused to go there because he did not have any training in legal proceedings. So he thought of avoiding it, but later, so he wanted to see some change in his life, so he thought of joining the team. Though the narrator belonged to the banking sector, he showed some interest later to join the jury team to investigate that case, murder case. So he wanted to take part in that trial. So he joined as a jury member. And all the 12 jury members were appointed, and they were given shelter in the official residence called London Tavern. And there was also a special officer appointed to take care of these 12 officers, 12 jury members. And the trial began, and they started working on this murder case, and they started collecting some information, detailed information, and they were able to gain some evidence about that case. The trial took for many days, but one day, very interestingly, when all these 12 jury members were given accommodation in the official quarters called London Tavern, the narrator again experienced the strange incident in his life. There were only 12 members in the quarters London Tavern. There were only 12 in the room, but the narrator noticed the 13th man. He found the extra man. Who was that extra man? Who was that 13th man? The 13th man, there were only 12, but the 13th man was none other than the ghost of the murdered man, the ghost of the dead man. And the narrator was very shocked to see that ghost. But later, when he observed his face, he realized that the ghost of that man was none other than the man he had seen a few days ago in his imagination. The same man died, and on that murder case they all are investigating, they all are working in a trial. So that ghost appeared before the narrator. The ghost was actually trying to approach the narrator to give some justice, because narrator had become the jury member, he was the foreman of that jury team. So the ghost was trying to request the narrator for some justice. Then the next day, the narrator was double shocked, because when the accused was brought before the jury members, when the accused person was brought before the judge and before the jury members, he was double shocked, because the accused was none other than the other man who had killed. In his imagination, he had seen two men, the one who died and the other who killed. So the second person who killed was none other than this accused. So he saw the same person, the same face. Actually, the narrator had never seen him before. He had seen him only in his imagination. But here in the courtroom, when the accused was brought before that jury members, he was shocked to see the same face. That was a very shocking incident in his life. And the trial was going on. But the ghost was trying to help the narrator in this case. He never spoke any words, but the ghost was able to communicate to the narrator through some gestures and through some feelings. He was able to communicate something to the narrator. It tried giving more details about that incident, that murder incident, because he was the one who died. In the beginning, the ghost was visible only to the narrator, but later it also appeared before the judge, the chief justice. The judge, he was also afraid of seeing that ghost. The trial continued. There was a defense lawyer, there was a prosecutioner, and there were some arguments and counter arguments. The defense lawyer was trying to defend the accused. He was trying to save his client. He was telling some lies, and he was twisting the facts. And the defense lawyer argued that it was a suicide, it was not a murder. When the ghost heard about this kind of argument, the ghost went to narrator and gave some hints gave some clues about that incident. And the ghost said that he was brutally killed by that accused person, that same man who was arrested here. And the prosecution also made his arguments, and after that there were arguments and counter arguments, and after hearing the arguments and counter arguments between these two lawyers, and after considering the facts, after considering the evidences, after weighing the evidences, the judge and the 12 jury members came to conclusion. They all came to the final stage and announced the final verdict. The final verdict was the man who was arrested, the accused man, was the one who really committed that crime, brutal crime. So he was the one who murdered that innocent person, and for that crime he was to be punished. So this was the final verdict they all announced. And very interestingly, after hearing this judgment, the ghost disappeared from that courtroom, because finally the ghost got some justice. So this is all about the story, the trial for murder. Thank you.